We are here. Here's something that's very dear to my heart. Obviously, you can see by my room here with the Godfather up over my shoulder and Goodfellas. Crime movies, whether it be heist films, old school crime movies, mafia movies. This is something that's very near and dear to my heart. It's something that I kind of grew up on. I remember the movie Scarface. My mother and Mike's dad used to be married. And I remember when I was a little kid, Scarface came out way before it got popular to the public. You remember that movie gained momentum after it had been out years and years. A lot of rappers and stuff jumped on board Scarface like late. And with that being said, we had that movie back in 1984. I believe your dad had it.
Yeah.
We were little kids, and I remember sneaking and watching that movie, and I was captured by, man, this guy was like, it made you pull for the bad guy.
It was brutal.
It was unbelievable because, you wouldn't think, especially at that little, you're always taught like superheroes, and you thought the good guys always win, and, everything goes good. But in that movie, it made you pull for the bad guy. Mm-hmm. And I remember watching your dad had that movie, and I used to sneak and watch it, and I was like, something captured me like back then, and it made me think that, man, there's a whole nother side. And then it makes you look at the villains, or so-called villains. Heath Ledger and Batman makes you really wonder what's reality and what's good and what's bad.
Yeah, you put yourself in their shoes.
That's right.
Yeah.
So, with that being said, we're going to do a little show about crime movies, heist movies, movies where basically the movie is based around, so to speak, the bad guys. Or crime, people that's known to be bad guys. Anybody that knows me knows that my favorite thing of all time, without question, is Sopranos. Probably my second favorite thing ever is the Godfather series. Both movies based about the mafia, both known criminals, both unbelievable characters, both screenplay, director, produced, everything fantastic. The Godfather set the standard. The budget on that film was $6 million.
Wow. That's crazy.
$6 million is the budget on that film. Compare that to Infinity War's $300 million. And if you do the price of inflation and the gross like we have on the show many times, they're neck and neck. That tells you a lot about the screenplay, the acting, and how they brought that to life. With that being said, we're just going to run down a few of our favorites. Obviously, on set here today, you don't see Bradley. Bradley wanted to step out on this one and kind of watch from the sidelines, help us out, do some of the producing stuff from the sidelines. So we brought in my brother Mike King. He's sitting in with us. Mike pulls for a lot of bad people in his life. So he's used to pulling for the bad guy.
I'm a big fan of the villains.
He is. He always pulls for bad guys, so who else to have sit in? We got Mr. Peebs. The thing about Peebs is Peebs' movie taste is a little bit different than anybody I've ever met. He always digs a little bit deeper than their average fan. He always finds good and bad stuff out of movies. I don't want to even say this, but Peebs even went into Den of Thieves and made me realize a couple of things that shouldn't have really been in there, or should have been in there in some people's opinions. Shouldn't. I don't want to hear anything negative about Den of Thieves, but Peebs pointed out some stuff that made sense, so I got to give him credit on that. That being said, Mike, tell us something you like. Since you're the guest, I'm going to bring you on. Tell us a movie that you truly like that kind of captured your heart as far as a crime film.
Well, like you said, to give you a little idea of why I like the villains, because like you said, it builds the story of who they are and why they become that way. And you can almost see how anyone can, in their own mind, can be a villain. We have good and bad in all of us. So you go, well, okay, I said what this person's been through. Gives you an idea, like you said, you put yourself in their position, become a villain, and why it made them that way. So I think, like I said before, one of them you mentioned was Scarface, one of the movies that we've all grown up watching, and I know it's the most obvious, a lot of us remember, but I go with Scarface just because you get to see the entire story of Tony Montana, how he comes into the country, and how he gets treated. He comes from a nobody and builds himself up to be this kingpin. And and then you get to see the rise and fall in the entire movie. So it's a great thing. It's what makes gangster movies what they are, man. So
you can see why people jumped on board with that movie, because you got a guy here that's literally an immigrant who's fighting just to stay here, and they send him in on one mission, whatever you want to call it, one task. He goes in. He's willing to sacrifice friends, like these people he's best friends for that task, and it shows him. Let's just call it what it is. What kind of balls he's got. What kind of grit he's got, what he's going to do what he's willing to do for the cause.
Yeah, he's gonna do whatever it took to make it.
And it didn't matter if it's friends he's got to sacrifice. He's gonna get the job done. And when they seen that, they were like, "Man, we got to have this guy on our team." You could see why that movie jumped on late, because let's just call it what it is. In the early '80s, early to mid '80s, when the movie came out, it was '83. Is that correct?
83, 84, somewhere around there.
Right. So when that movie came out, you could see why people didn't jump on board and go to the theater to see it, because look how gruesome it is. You got guys getting cut with a chainsaw.
Yeah, and also in that time, you also had, the larger-than-life action heroes like
Stallone, right.
Schwarzenegger. I mean, larger-than-life heroes. Why are we going to watch a movie about a
Okay.
villain brutally killing
Thank
people?
you.
Mm-hmm.
And to plug Peebs on this, and Peebs the one that put me on this movie. I've never even seen it. At its time, would you consider that a Sicario movie? Because it's an eccentric taste that it's not a normal movie, but it's a movie about crime in another way. I consider it kind of the same genre, because it don't follow your standard, status A, status B, status C quo of a normal movie.
I mean, Sicario follows really its own rules, but so does Scarface. I mean, say they're similar is to also point out all the differences in the two movies. Are they similar in the fact that, are you rooting for the bad guys? Yes, but in Sicario the lines are really blurred. You don't really know if you're rooting for the bad guys. And the whole time in Scarface, Tony Montana's a bad guy.
You are pulling for the bad guy.
Good
That's
point.
true.
It's clear to see that guy's moving.
I think both movies, the reason I bring the comparison up, I think both movies is definitely your average movie fan, when they first see it's probably not going to jump on board. Same thing with Sicario. They also have gray lines that you don't know where to cross one way or the other. I think we can all agree on that. And the final thing is, I think they were both written, directed, and acted out flawlessly. I think those are definitely
great actors. I mean, both movies have great actors. So.
Pacino's big break, obviously, was here. Was that the movie that captivated him to where he is now? Would you say that?
What, Scarface kept...
This was his big break.
Yeah.
But to put him in a superstardom, do you think it was Scarface?
Dog Day Afternoon.
You think so?
Because that movie...
I don't think that movie's on the scale of Scarface, though.
I think it showed his range more than, Scarface. And at the time, it was more of a mainstream audience movie. Because at the time, Scarface wasn't really a mainstream audience movie.
Gained recognition late.
Yeah.
Much like Sicario.
Sicario didn't gain recognition until like Oscar season, and all of a sudden out of nowhere you have this action movie getting put up for Oscar after Oscar and after Oscar, and then when you notice something like that, people usually tend to go check out Oscar bait movies, even they hadn't heard of them, and they're like, oh dear God, this is a really good movie. But what difference between that and Scarface is Scarface didn't end up gaining popularity to the whole kind of like gangster underground, like rap music kind of came to the forefront. Until then, it was this kind of a cult followed movie.
It was.
Then we got these long tees with Scarface on them.
Almost like a history lesson.
Yeah. And
it's like a history lesson.
Once we started getting that, we saw Scarface become much more of a mainstream character. We saw Tony Montana become a mainstream character. So that's why I do not think it was Al Pacino's breakout role, is because it was not a mainstream movie.
I didn't say a breakout. I'd say his breakout was obviously there.
Well, his catapulting.
Okay.
His catapulting role. I would say Dog Day Afternoon, because I think a lot more people saw it, and it is in the same lines of showing all those emotions like he does in Scarface. I mean, he goes through, a really bad day.
I think that he he definitely showed unbelievable skills in that movie, though. And this movie right here, he did too.
Yeah.
How can you're not only following Marlon Brando, you're doing it in the same movie.
Yeah.
So how do you make a movie interesting when Marlon Brando dies in it? And maybe Marlon Brando's, I think without a doubt, Marlon Brando's biggest role ever.
Well, yeah, because he's almost like he picks up the torch in the middle. Well, not that he ever didn't get it in the beginning, but he carried his own weight in the beginning of the movie. And it's like as he dies, you got him carrying the torch as the rest of the movie goes on in the entire trilogy.
And as we were watching that movie, even an hour and a half into that movie, you wouldn't even consider anybody but Sonny picking up that torch.
Yeah, no, not at all.
He wouldn't. Dude, Al Pacino, Mike was an afterthought. You was like, you're sitting here watching this movie. You was like, man, has something ever happened to that guy? Mike was an afterthought. He wasn't even like rugged. He wasn't even. He was like a ladies' man, like there with his woman for the wedding. He was like, and then he was like, what the hell? When he like volunteered to go into the restaurant, you were like, what in the hell's going on? You know, you wouldn't even consider that from Mike.
Yeah.
But then it take it all, which I think both movies are great. The Sicario, in my mind, are a little similar. Peeves point out some really good points. Another movie I think over the years that has really changed things, and I'm gonna let you talk about this, is Pulp Fiction.
Pulp Fiction, not my favorite of Tarantino's crime dramas. That would be Reservoir Dogs. But
My man.
I think Pulp Fiction
He's a
is probably.
Tarantino man.
I love Tarantino. I think Pulp Fiction would probably be his most known movie. It definitely is what set the bar for a lot of people when it comes to crime movies. I mean, you've got everything from heroin overdoses to yumps to katanas cutting people's heads off.
Great one-liners.
Great
There
one-liners.
it is.
I mean, the cast. I mean, you can't really almost write up a better cast for
You
a
can't.
movie
In their prime.
in their prime.
In their prime.
And a lot of them hadn't even aged bad. I mean, Travolta hasn't aged bad. Willis hasn't aged
No.
bad. Samuel L. Jackson definitely, he doesn't age.
He doesn't know.
No, he doesn't. But I mean, you have all these characters, and they fit, and they mesh so well. And the movie itself, I mean, it just shows you like the degenerative nature of a human being. You have gambling problems outlined in one of the stories. You have drug problems outlined in another one of the stories. You have casual murder outlined as like the main plot in the last like play of the story. I mean, it shows you the deplorable nature of, you know, what a crime life is, and I think a lot of us can relate to it because, you know, a lot of us, you know, we gravitate towards our more, you know, primitive nature, and it shows that, and it shows that, you know, you don't have to really kind of, I don't want to say be ashamed of it, but it kind of put it in a spotlight of, hey, it is fun to be like a terrible person.
Right.
Yeah.
Like they even kind of even make light of a heroin overdose. I mean, like,
Don't you think that was
To me, that's the highlight of the movie.
Don't you think that was the movie that Tarantino just really turned the corners? Like, I don't care if people like my stuff or love my stuff. To me,
Yeah.
that was the movie he just like let it all hang out.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there would be a Kill Bill without that.
Oh no.
I don't think he'd have the confidence to do a Kill Bill after that. Other great movies, as far as Goodfellas, one of the greatest movies ever. Casino, another great movie. I can sit here and name hundreds and hundreds of mafia movies over and over and over. But
analyze this. I actually watched that.
that's actually a comedy mafia movie.
Well, I'll
Yeah.
tell you some of them that I really like, man, really has stepped up to me. Just that I enjoy watching out of all the movies that are about gangsters and you know, crime movies that I always really relate to is the stuff that it's like a true story. The one I like, you know, it's kind of off, but the American Gangster for me.
Oh, yeah.
It's a good one.
He killed it, you know, and it's based off of, was it like 1970s? What was his name?
I believe it's Frank.
Was it Frank Lucas?
Yep,
Yeah,
Frank Lucas.
Frank Lucas. It was based a true story about, you know, the rise and fall of him, and you know, the movie's in depth. It really covers his entire life of how he kind of rose and fall, and I like how the movie played out. It's a dude killed it. Denzel Washington. You can't get a better. I mean, when he plays a villain, it's almost like John Travolta. They play a villain. You got your
Let's
guy.
be honest, man. When Denzel plays anything, he
Yeah.
murders it.
That dude, he murders it.
He don't.
When he's ruthless. He's ruthless as
I think he's like that in nature. He just holds it back.
Yeah.
I seen The Equalizer 2 this weekend. Murdered it.
Yeah.
Better than the first one. The guy's absolutely unbelievable. You're right. Frank Lucas was a true gangster in a time that he was a gangster in a mafia-ridden town.
Yeah.
So you know what I'm saying? Like there's a difference between the gangsters and mafia men. It's totally different. It's two totally different genres of people. He was a gangster in a mafia-ridden town, and he still rose to power like he did.
Yeah, and after
He was so
America
powerful,
really did
they
against
put-
all the Italians, you know. I mean, that proves.
Bro, he was so
huge.
powerful, they put him back out on the streets to control these people that was running amok once he went in because they were lawless. He's that powerful. You putting the biggest crime boss you have, who's incarcerated, back out on the streets to control the thugs that's running amok. What does that tell you?
That dude has some power.
What does that tell you?
It's true stories. Like I said, that's the reason why we've always related to these things. John Gotti, Al Capone, the things that we relate to is, that's what made a lot of these movies. And That's what we take the grit and how they began, and it kind of gives us that basis of what these movies really are. So that's the reason why I always like them the most, is because they got a little truth behind them, and they're true stories, and the way they're written and the way they're, there's always good directors with them too. So it seems like they're always, the story is always really well connected and played.
I got another one I want to throw at you, Peeps. Another true story, loosely based on a true story, The Departed.
Well, loosely based on a true story and completely ripped off from a Chinese movie, to throw that out there. But it is a great movie.
Look at the cast.
Once again, it's a cast that you're just like, holy God, look.
You could do that cast and play tic-tac-toe and make a
interesting movie.
An interesting movie.
Yeah.
The Departed, it's all been out for years by now, but the elevator scene in that movie,
unbelievable.
That's got to be one of my favorite scenes in all of cinema history.
Oh, you didn't see it coming.
Wally Bulger.
You didn't see it coming.
Wally Bulger, and that really happened. Wally Bulger, the whole time, was working with the feds, and they didn't know it. He's the biggest crime boss there ever has been in Boston. They only caught him a few years ago, like in real life.
Yeah, they caught him in California.
Who else played Wally Bulger? Another famous actor recently.
John Depp.
In what movie?
Was it Blood? Was it?
No. The Black Sunday.
From the background, it was Black Mass.
Black Mass.
Great movie.
Benedict Cumberbatch is in this.
He does a fantastic job of portraying him in that movie. That's what Departed was really, really based on. Did y'all know that?
Yeah, and rip off of a Chinese movie.
Rip off of Chinese.
Japanese.
But
no,
now,
Chinese.
Oh, it was.
we're gonna go up. We're doing a look on the semi-timeline here. We're gonna move up ahead. A movie that came out, The Town, I thought was an absolute fantastic movie. That was a movie that really betrayed, you talk about gray lines. Look at the cast in it. Look at the cast in that. You've got Batman and another Avenger in the same movie.
Another Avenger, like Batman's a part of the Avengers now.
You've got an Avenger and Batman in the same movie. So, Jeremy Renner is Jeremy Renner's in the movie. Ben Affleck's in the movie. Fantastic movie across the board. Well written.
It was wrote and directed by Ben Affleck, wasn't it?
Yes, absolutely it was. Another fantastic movie where you really are pulling for the bad guys. Anytime a movie makes you pull for the bad guys, it makes you truly enjoy pulling for the bad guys. I think it's well written because it's not supposed to be like that. It's not a scripted movie.
I think a lot of times nowadays we choose to pull for the bad guys more than we used to, because I think a lot more people have started to be able to relate to a bad guy state of mind, like the Joker in The Dark Knight. I mean, he wasn't really a bad guy just to be a bad guy. He had a purpose. He was more of just an anarchist. He wanted to lash out against the government. He wanted to lash out against Batman, who he saw as an authority figure. He was lashing out against everything. And my generation, the younger generation of this crowd, we can, understand the lashing out. And y'all went through the, early rise of the hardcore scene and all of that. But the lashing out, you can understand that. And I think that's why we grasp on to the bad guys so much, is because we understand where they're coming from. And if a writer is doing their job correctly, they can make you be like, I could see myself in this position. And I can't really see myself in, the position of the good guys, but I can relate to the bad guy in this movie.
Even though this is a crime movie, this is going to run a little long, but I want to get this point out. Let's dive into what you just said for a second. The Joker, and the first time ever an individual in a movie, really made you wonder who is good and who is bad.
Yeah, he did.
He made you wonder because he went, first thing he did, the movie opens up with him going in at the mob in the movie and taking their money. You know why? It's not because he wanted their money.
Yeah.
He ends up burning their money.
Yeah, but say in the movie he's burning the money.
He's letting them know it's about the principle. And he even told them to their face, you guys used to stand for something in this town. You don't stand for anything no more. It's all money based. He made you feel what he's saying. He walks in on their meeting and lets them know what he's doing.
Oh yeah, you know he went good guys, bad guys, and he took the plan. Anything about the plan, and he turned it on its head. And that's what the best part about that movie is you never knew what was going to expect. I mean, he would, you would think he was going in one direction, and he would just flip and go the complete opposite.
Even when he got himself arrested.
Yeah, I mean, even the good guys, you're like, I don't know how this guy's going to beat him because you never knew what he was going to do next.
And he ended up not beating him.
Yeah, he just kind of had to put out the fire long enough to
He won.
apprehend him.
He won because he turned the city against Batman.
Yeah.
He turned the city against Batman. In your opinion, is that one of the true movies that there is without question? I think the movie was written about Batman, but is not a question your co-star
Overshadowed everything. Yes.
one of the few times in history.
Yeah, in that movie, I think
It's not even close.
Your main guy he's not the main guy. When you think of that movie, you don't think about Batman.
No, you
think
think
it's Ledger. Yeah.
We made a whole show on it. Moving forward, we're going to wrap up very soon. There's one more movie I really want to talk about. Peeps, don't say a word, I'm going to punch you.
I want to tag in Brad for a minute.
Brad, come on in. Brad needs to come in and say something. The movie that...
Brad needs to bring a movie.
unless Brad's going to talk about a movie. Brad, you going to talk about a movie?
Is it the one I think?
Huh?
Is it the one I think?
Oh, we're talking about Den of Thieves, baby.
No.
What?
I'm not going to talk about Den of Thieves.
What do you want to talk about?
No, I'm saying, what do you want me to tag in for?
No, he's tagging you in.
Oh, I don't know. What's the
Okay.
one movie you have?
We're talking about Den of Thieves and we're going to wrap it.
Oh,
So, last year, my favorite movie with all the movies that came out was Den of Thieves. To me, I've not seen a movie in the last 10 years that I walked into the movie thinking it was going to be pretty good and been absolutely blown away. I've not sat in a movie since Seven where the ending blew my mind that much. I've not sat in a movie since Ledger to where the bad guy overshadows the good guy. I've also not sit in a movie that had you questioning who was good and who was bad. Again, maybe since that Batman movie. The movie absolutely, on every mark, it hit every mark on every metric I have as a good movie. And it not only hit it at the top scale.
Yeah.
Merriman was a savage. Merriman had a plan. This guy was a Mossad Marine. He had a group of guys who were absolute killers. These guys didn't take no for an answer. They went in, they did jobs. They didn't kill uniform. They only killed people who deserved to be killed in their opinion. Other bad people in their opinion. And he overshadowed Gerard Butler in a movie in which they wanted to portray
That
Gerard Butler
was
as the badass
the
alpha.
headliner. Like he was.
And you thought that halfway through the movie, but then you realize, no, this dude is a killer. This dude could kill him. And there's a scene where that happens. He could kill him at any time. But as the movie rolls on, the thing that really shocked me was even myself, I was like, he was being used as a rented government mule the whole movie, and you didn't know it, and you didn't know it, and I didn't know it until the damn movie's over with.
It was a good twist. It was Den of Thieves wasn't one of my favorites. I'm not going to bag on the movie, but that was a good twist that I don't think anybody really saw coming. Like
Anybody that says they did is a liar.
Well, I mean, like you said, you don't know who the good guys or the bad guys are. The movie was like, the way it even starts out, man, even to the middle, and then he even says that the cops are just doing lawless stuff. There's not really, they're not acting like we're used to seeing cops. They're just as dirty as the criminals. And I guess it's maybe their means to catch the bad guy, so to speak. But like he said, he's beating him in the hotel room. And he's like, you're not the bad guys, we are. And that's like just a badass line.
Let me ask you a question, Mike.
And
I got a question for you. Do you not think that they portrayed that at the point where they had to get desperate to get to that level?
Oh yeah, if you're going to take down that group of guys, you had to get.
You
had to
can't
get-
do this by the book because you're going to lose. They know the book.
Yeah.
What was the first thing Merriman did when the damn scene, the very first scene in the movie? What did Merriman do? He sent down Cheddar Bob's ass back down there to survey the area to see who the hell showed up.
Yeah, the Cheddar Bob was a badass in that movie.
He was.
He's definitely a lot further than 8 Mile. He come a long way from 8 Mile.
Dude. But now, back to your point, though, dude.
Yeah.
You had to get desperate because they wasn't going to stop. Was they going to stop?
No.
And I don't know if you caught this in the movie, Bradley. Did you notice all the crimes they talked about? Gerard Butler talked about 2/3 of the when he put it all together.
Yeah.
And he finally puts it up on the board and he goes, "This is the crew. This is the ones doing this." Did you catch the crimes he talked about right before that?
I'll be honest to say no, I didn't.
Okay. He talked about digging tunnels. He talked about not killing uniforms. All the shit was hitting on every
He tried
mark.
doing the honor way. Like,
He basically took little tidbits of stuff that they were doing currently and put that piece of the puzzle together
Okay.
to make this crew. And he goes, "This is your crew. This is the guys we're going after." And you noticed, even him, that mug sat back and looked at it, and you could tell he was like, you could tell on his facial expressions, you're like, "I don't know if we can stop these dudes."
Yeah. Yeah, it was a
Because-
the expressions, the whole movie, everything that the acting was great in that movie.
there's a lot of body language
Yeah,
in the movie.
yeah, a lot of body language. You know, and even like the guys that you wouldn't expect to have really have been such a good played such a good role, like 50 Cent. Just the little things that
He was
did.
overshadowed.
The dude was overshadowed by the top characters, of course.
I thought he killed his
but
role.
the guy killed the role. Cheddar Bob killed the role, man.
He did. Merriman murdered his role.
Yeah.
Dude, I thought, I was like, 50 Cent killed this guy. He was
Yeah.
the dad on the bad side. He had a family, wife, kids, and daughter, and you saw how he treated his daughter's prom date. But
That
he
was
was
probably the funniest part
overshadowed.
in the movie right
was
there.
great, but he killed it. But you know, it's overshadowed by these two alphas who's going at each other, bro. And the whole time, you as an audience knows what Gerard Butler is. You know he's about 300. You know what he's about. You're sitting here thinking, "Oh, he's a badass. Look at Gerard Butler go." But then this other dude that you know nothing about, which is Pablo, I can't even remember his last name. Pablo Shaver, I believe is his name.
I can't remember.
So you're sitting here,
He
you're
came out of
like,
nowhere.
it's
yeah.
like a BC list. Like,
and he, dude, you were just sitting here like, this dude is calculated. He is mastermind, and you think he's this perfect entity of what a bad guy should be, but he was a puppet the whole time.
that has me thinking, and just because I got tagged in, I want to at least get one movie in. It is a crime movie. A guy,
Let's hear it.
his family was murdered. He decided the guys got let off on a light sentence. He decided to take it on
hell
himself.
Hell yeah, you're gonna love this.
To overthrow the entire
You're gonna
court
love this.
system and done. You mentioned Gerard Butler, law-abiding citizen.
It's one of my favorites. It's one
Like
of my
that,
it's one of my
Great
favorites.
movie,
I'm
dude.
gonna
like that, I will consider it
Great
a crime
movie.
movie because this guy, he's
Hell
a
yeah,
criminal.
he's committing crimes.
He's a criminal for all the right reasons.
Right.
Like, there's no justice to his family's murder. But that torture
Right.
scene where he has the dude strapped down in the factory or in the warehouse to that
Great
bed.
scene.
I've watched many horror movies, many gore movies, and nothing has disturbed me as much as that scene.
I don't think
But
that's
also the crazy thing about it is you put yourself in that situation. That's where the one
I
time you
have
can
a
see
wife.
yourself as the bad guy because you're like, what would I do if it happened to me?
I have a wife. I have 2 sons. I watch that movie and I'm like, yeah, I probably would have done the same thing. Like, that's...
But let's go one step further. I think the best scene in the movie is when the damn judge is going to let him go home. And he goes, "Are you kidding me, stupid?" I mean,
the
it's
best
like,
scene in the movie is when him and Jamie Foxx is the DA, sitting there talking to each other on the side of he's looking at him and saying, I can't quote it word for word, but like, I'm gonna bring you and this
Oh,
whole
yeah,
corrupt
yeah.
system down on its fucking head. It's gonna be biblical. Like, that is one of the greatest threats you can get in any movie.
Mike,
when a
please.
guy can tell a
I agree.
DA like, fuck you, you know?
Yeah.
Mike, how about
you have
when-
to have a little personal time, rewind that and over and over.
Yeah.
Mike, please elaborate when the damn dude, when he orders the steak and him and his cellmates in
Oh
there.
God.
Oh man, yeah, yeah. You wasn't expecting that to come. You know,
Hell no.
He's over there just hanging out with a guy. Just
He's
like, hey,
chit chatting with him.
Yeah, here, you have the remote, man. You can play the music.
Yeah, he's enjoying his steak.
Yes.
And then he's got this whole underground network built under the city, under the prison.
He's got to get put in there, though.
That's a good point. Like he said, you know, you just the end. Did you ever see that coming? Did you
Hell
ever see
no.
this guy has been getting out of prison the entire
You're
time?
sitting here saying, why is this guy eating the steak so calm? Why has this guy got the steak sent to this room?
He's been walking in and out of prison on a daily basis, and nobody
Right.
even notices.
Fantastic movie, and I'm glad you brought that one up.
It's one of Jamie Foxx's best roles, too.
I think it is. I don't think there's a question that
Yep.
one of. That being said, this one's ran long, and I'm glad it's ran long because it's been a fantastic, absolute fantastic movie. It's been fantastic discussions. I think we've hit
Sorry,
on all
I couldn't at the
cylinders.
end of it, but
Yeah, but we've let it. We
How you hit a home run on the first swing?
Well, there's several other crime movies we could talk about right there. I could spend an hour talking about
I'm
Goodfellas
out
or
of
Casino. We're not going to do that, guys. Please hit the subscribe button. Please hit the bell. Get our notification when they come up.
look over our heads. You'll have links to other videos. Click them. Check
And-
everything out.
I want to thank Mike for sitting in with us. He didn't have to do that. He did it by the grace of his heart, and he loves crime movies because he's a bad guy.
Yeah,
he's
thanks
wearing
for
black.
Yeah,
What else you need to
He's
know?
the bad guy.
So with that being said,
That's
we're going to
right,
close
you're
out.
Say goodnight to the bad guy.
Thank you guys, and good night.